class, time's up. Pencils down. Turn your tests in because it's time to listen to Hoosier Hipsteria. Welcome back to the 12th episode of this podcast. It is finals week. We are taking a little bit of a study break to bring you this past few days in the world of sporting.
The wide world.
No, ESPN owns that.
No.
Copyright ESPN.
Copyright ESPN. We're going to get sued by ESPN now
Copyright.
by Rachel Phillips.
Copyright Walt Disney.
Okay.
Lot to talk about today. A lot has happened in the last 3 days. A little bit of Pacers playoffs. A little bit of IU basketball once again. News isn't so great this time. A little bit of NFL and obviously a little bit of college football. And as always, a fresh segment of Do You Care?
Which we know is everyone's favorite.
Right. It's certainly becoming less and less of our favorite.
Yeah.
Starting off right at the top, news came in this afternoon that Indiana University and the University of Kentucky have ended their rivalry series until further notice. Came down to the fact that the two schools could not agree on where the game would be played on a year-by-year basis. Indiana University wanted the home and home, something they've been doing for the past few years, play at Assembly Hall and Rupp Arena, switching year after year. And Kentucky wanted two neutral site locations that were close to the campuses, evening out the crowd a little bit more for them, I'd say, on average, the games to be played at either Lucas Oil Stadium or Bankers Life Fieldhouse, and going down to Kentucky, probably play in the old Freedom Hall in Louisville. So, I guess, Josh, what are your thoughts on this incident, and who do you think is to blame, if anyone?
Well, it upsets me because this has been a classic rivalry for I don't even know how long, but it's been around for a long time.
1969.
Okay, 1969, so that's, 43-year rivalry. It's a pretty good rivalry. Granted, in the past few years, it's been Kentucky drilling IU because IU hasn't been very good. But now, you look at most people's preseason rankings, and IU and Kentucky are number 1 and number 2, order varying on which one you look at. So it's pretty clear that it's going to be an awesome game, especially compounding that with this year's game, which was the highlight of the regular season. That's not my words, that's what basically everybody thinks. So it upsets me because I think it would have been a great game. I think if we're going to assign, if you're telling me to assign blame to somebody, which I know you didn't do, but if you are...
I did if you wanted to.
Yeah, but if somebody said, Josh, assign blame to somebody, I would assign blame to Calipari, because he's trying to change it, and although his reasoning, it is arguable that is a good thing to do, I think Crean is in the right here, trying to keep it the way it is with the home and home series, because college basketball is meant to be played in a home and home series. It's not... neutral courts is what the tournament does, which is what Calipari's argument was. He wanted neutral courts to prepare for the tournament. But playing on a road, how is that going to not prepare you for that? That's what I want to know. So I think it seems to me like this is a lot of speculation on my part. Obviously, Calipari hasn't said this or anything, but I think truly that Calipari was afraid that his home winning streak was going to come to an end this year. That's just my 2 cents on it. The risk of it was too high for him, I think.
Well, it's certainly not good for the game of college basketball. It's going to be a game that we're going to miss next season. It's something that people across the country look forward to watching, similar to watching Ohio State, Michigan. It's not the same kind of rivalry, but people tune in.
Yeah, it's close. Well, it's not close.
So,
but,
it's a game that they're going to miss. I believe that... I don't know how much I want to believe that Calipari was doing it for selfish reasons to make his schedule easier. I don't want to believe that, but it's a definite possibility.
I don't think that's the only reason, but I think that did play a factor in the decision.
And up to this point, they've taken... They don't have North Carolina on their schedule either. I don't know about Duke. They don't play Duke every year it doesn't look like they're going to have
I
a
think it's
super
just
tough
Louisville,
non-conference schedule, with the exception of a top 5 matchup with Louisville,
Yeah.
which will be
That'll be a very
great game. But I guess at this point, Indiana's looking to other sites for a big rivalry matchup against two traditional basketball powers, and I think, as far as I'm concerned, they're looking out to Lawrence, Kansas to play the Jayhawks.
Yeah, that's what I
in a home-and-home series. What do you think about the possibility of a Hoosiers Jayhawks rivalry growing back?
I think that it would be good because not only, I mean, those are going to be two powerhouse teams and they're traditional powers, so it makes sense. And the home and home is good. It's going to take a few years before, if this is what happens and if it becomes an annual game, then it's going to take a few years for the rivalry to build up. But I think once it does, I think it'll be a good rivalry that a lot of people are going to watch. And frankly, I think a lot of people will watch it if they schedule it this year because Kansas is probably going to be top 10, top 15 at least, because they were the national championship last year. I don't know. It's gonna depend though, I think.
Right, it'll be a clash of the Titans, so to speak, and I believe that it'll be pretty quick to grow the hatred.
Yeah.
All it takes is one game, really.
One good game.
I know people that I've talked to that already hate Virginia Commonwealth, and that's after one tournament game that was close. So I think one game, the losing team will grow a bitter hatred pretty quickly, and the winning team fan base will grow kind of a hatred for the team because they don't understand why the other team is hating them already, and so it's one of those. It is always fun. Middle school drama fights.
It is always fun to see new rivalries blossoming. I will say that.
I like the idea of it. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun watching this Alabama LSU rivalry get deeper and deeper in the past few seasons. What with Les Miles and Nick Saban being the head coaches, it's boomed since Saban has been a coach at Alabama. So it's nice to see.
To be fair, though, I think everyone's rival with Alabama when Saban's there.
Right, but it's the fact that he coached at LSU and then left. So yeah, I think there's a potential new rivalry. It's going to be pretty great. Moving on, I guess there's nothing really more to say about that other than it's sad that we're losing a great game of basketball.
But if we're going to lose it, I'm glad that we went out on a high note.
Right.
I'm glad that IU went out on a high note.
They traded blows and then the rivalry ended. But moving on to more college basketball, it's kind of college basketball, college football. A little bit of shakeup has been happening recently. It's a lot of smaller schools, but it still changes the impact of the way football looks. North Texas, Florida International, Louisiana Tech, all in two of them are in the Sun Belt, and one of them is in the WAC. They're all moving to the Conference USA in 2013, if I'm not mistaken. It's kind of a boost for Louisiana Tech because they've had to play those road games way far out west from where they were. I know that they were playing the WAC Louisiana Purchase style and allowing
that's a nice reference.
and making the La Tech Bulldogs go all the way out to, I don't even know, I guess Boise State, schools like that. So that's one move. Another move is Texas State. Texas State's a school that's coming up to BCS next year, and they're opening in the WAC, but after 1 year of playing in the WAC, they're going to move to the Sun Belt. And the biggest move probably is the Butler Bulldogs are moving from the Horizon League to the Atlantic 10 in basketball play. Josh, tell me which one sticks out to you most and which is going to have the most significance on the college sports spectrum next season.
Well, if you're asking me about spectrum like as a whole, I don't think any of them have a huge impact, but Butler basketball moving to Atlantic 10, I think for them is the right move because it gets them out of the Horizon League, and the Horizon League, although it usually has one other team that's pretty good, if it's your Wright State or Detroit or Valparaiso or what have you, but it's usually just Butler beating everybody and winning the league, going to the championship every year because there's no one good in it. I think that the fact that they're moving to the Atlantic 10 is good. because it's not a huge jump. It's not like they're going to the Big Ten or anything where they would get demolished, but it's up to a better conference, a more prestigious conference that is not that great. I mean, the Atlantic 10 has teams like Temple. It has
Xavier,
I think
Dayton.
Drexel, maybe
Dayton, Richmond.
Yeah, and there are some
it's
teams.
A great basketball
For
conference.
a mid-major conference, it's one of the best mid-major conferences out there for basketball, and Butler is one of the best mid-major teams. I think it depends on how well Brad Stevens can recruit from here on out, but that's another story. But I think that the Butler move to the Atlantic 10 is the biggest jump, or the biggest move, and I think it's the right move for them.
Here's an argument I would like to pose for you. Butler has prided themselves on doing basketball the Butler way. They've been doing so for a very long time. A lot of good-natured kids, great student athletes, student first playing basketball. It's great. It's basketball, or it's intercollegiate athletics at its purest form. Now, the Atlantic 10 cares so much less about that than the Horizon League did, and they're going to be more concerned with how many wins Butler can get in a single season, how many wins they get non-conference, how much they can contend for an Atlantic 10 title within their first several years. Do you think that it's the right move for Butler to go to the Atlantic 10? In an exchange, they might have to compromise the style of basketball that's made them famous.
I think that it's going to be a challenge for them, but I think that if they care a lot about preserving the quote-unquote Butler way, I think that they can still carry that into the Atlantic 10. I understand what you're saying about winning being important, but it has to be, they can't let the conference define the culture of the team. They have to, if they keep the Butler way, I'm putting this in air quotes, if they can keep that and they still find success, that's best case scenario for them. But it's going to be a challenge for them to not let the conference change them of moving up in the world and experiencing better competition game in and game out. But, I mean, there are teams like, I can't think of any, all the ones I can think of there are arguments against, but there are teams that have, like, the same sort of idea, like Duke. Duke's a good academic school. Obviously, people have their own opinions on Duke. But, I mean, they're in the ACC, they're competing year in and year out, and those kids are good students for the most part.
But they're moving into a conference that allows Xavier to be Xavier.
That's true. Well, Detroit was in the Horizon League, and I mean, those were a bunch of thugs too. There's a team like that in every conference. Temple's in the Atlantic 10. They're Philly, but still, that's a pretty good academic school.
I mean, the thing with the Atlantic 10 is they're jumping into a much deeper conference. I mean, let's look at let's look at the various numbers of teams the Atlantic 10 has put into the NCAA tournament in the past few years. You got Temple, Richmond, Dayton, Xavier, to name a few. I can't think of think of any more that they've put in recently. But I mean, it's a very balanced conference, a very powerful conference that has made noise in the NCAA tournament, especially with teams like Temple and Xavier. So for them to compete with those teams just to get a bid in the NCAA tournament, whereas they were more than likely, if they had the right talent, they were able to essentially run the table in the Horizon League and get an automatic bid into the tournament. They're going to have to fight a lot harder in this format, and I believe that there's going to be a point where they start to bend their moral compass a little bit. And that concerns me. It's not something that the hometown fans are going to be too happy about. But
it's definitely going to be it's going to be interesting to see how they handle the first couple of years, to see how they handle the transition from the Horizon League to the Atlantic 10. Yeah. I mean, they've like St. Bonaventure won the Atlantic 10 last year.
Right, exactly.
It's not like it's all powerhouse.
But then they gave Florida State a run for the money.
That was an awesome game.
But anyways, Butler will be moving to the Atlantic 10 in 2013, and we will keep tabs on them as they do so. We're going to make a smooth transition into professional basketball now, as we talk about our hometown heroes, the Indiana Pacers, and how they're faring in the playoffs. Josh, why don't you describe a little bit about how the series has been going with the Orlando Magic?
Well, the first game was one of the most disappointing things I've ever experienced as a Pacers fan. Other than, well, it's not the most, obviously, because the huge brawl that occurred was. But I would say that this series was changed by one quarter, and that quarter would be the third quarter of Game 2, where I didn't get to watch the game because it was on NBA TV, and we don't get that down here. But if I remember correctly, they were either losing or tied with them, or they were within.
They
two
were down
points
like
or so.
2 to 3 to 4 points.
Yeah, it was pretty hard fought, and they were playing in Indianapolis. So, and the Magic are a depleted team. The Pacers should have been beating them by a lot more, in my opinion. But like I said, I didn't watch the game, so I don't know how it was going. But the third quarter, they outscored them.
20. What was it?
I know that they outscored them by, I think it was like 20 points or something
28
like that.
to 3 or something like that.
Something ridiculous like that. 15 to 20 points. And then, boom, series has changed right there. They won that game easily. They won Game 3 easily, and they're looking good. I think their next game is Saturday, I want to say.
Probably.
Yeah, Saturday is something. And if they can ride that momentum, they could win out, honestly. And then they'd be looking at probably the Heat in the second round, which...
I don't think that the Pacers are going to struggle at all with this Magic team from here on out. Is the conference quarters, is it a 5 or 7 game series?
7. Everything's
Okay.
a 7-game series.
All right. So I see them winning the next 2 games. It'll be nice for them to win in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
To clinch the series.
Is it 2
It's
home games?
home,
Home.
away, home, away, home.
Okay, that's what I thought. I wasn't sure if it was different from
But,
series to series or not, though.
Yeah, I think the Magic are, well, obviously they're struggling without their all-star Dwight Howard.
Which anybody would be.
I didn't think they were going to win I didn't think they were going to win a single game without him.
Yeah, I didn't either.
They proved the Pacers.
The Pacers, pretty much, in my opinion, gave them Game 1. Though.
They completely proved that wrong.
Except Jameer Nelson did play out of his mind.
They're playing a lot of balanced basketball. It's not one man that's carrying them through these games. Obviously, their captain, Danny Granger, their mental leader, David West, and their big man, Roy Hibbert, have all played big roles in their success in the playoffs so far. I'm pretty impressed with the way this team has looked in the last 2 games, doing what they should have done in Game 1. I'm incredibly bitter about Game 1, though.
I think the way that the veterans, specifically David West, handled that loss, though, I think that was a big part in their success in the past couple of games. Because he took that loss personally, and he was like, I'm trying to think of something to compare it to, and the first thing that comes into my head is Tim Tebow after that loss a couple years ago, or whenever at Florida when he, cried or something.
Well, let's only hope that they can win the NBA title now.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like, taking that loss personally and trying to do something about it, he kind of, rallied the team up, and then they had that huge third quarter, and it was a completely different team. They were making so many mistakes in the first game, so many unforced errors, and they cut back on that so much in the last couple games, which is a good thing to see.
Yeah, now the Pacers are up 2-1 on the Magic, and it's looked like a completely different series since that first night. The Pacers are dominating the paint, and in the last game they out-rebounded the Magic 46-33, and they outblocked them 5-1. Very impressive statistic on the night is their ability. Pacers have been capitalizing on turnovers in transition.
Yeah.
They outdid the Magic 18-0 in fast break points. I know the Magic aren't really a fast break team, but
that's a pretty big disparity anyway.
And so far in the series they've outscored the Magic 81-43 in the third quarter. That's obviously been the Pacers' best quarter of the series. And on defense, they've been doing some work a lot better than Game 1. They only allowed the Magic to take 15 three-point attempts. That's a team that averages 28 three-point attempts per night. A big move for them. But credit where credit's due to the Orlando Magic. It's clear that Glenn Big Baby Davis has really improved his stock as an NBA player. I could see him being possibly on the move. If Howard doesn't move, I could see Davis on the move to a team where he can get a starting position because he has been doing a lot of work in the post for the Magic in this series. He's
Definitely.
been playing some very impressive games. He had 22 points last night. And he's very undersized for his position. I think he's 6'7", and he's a big guy, but he's 6'7". He's going against 7'2" Roy Hibbert every single night.
And he's still doing pretty well.
Yeah, I'm impressed with Glenn Davis, but, I mean, who really thought the Magic was going to win this series?
I don't think many people did because they saw them almost lose to the Bobcats at the end of the season, just figured they were done. Another guy that's really impressed me is Jameer Nelson. He's sort of like, he's probably the best.
He's taking the team over.
Yeah, he's like the guy now. He and what's that guy's name? Ryan Anderson? Ryan Anderson is another one who had like 9 rebounds in the first quarter last night or something, but ended up with like 9, I think.
And he's a perimeter forward.
He's a perimeter, yeah. He's a dynamic scorer, and the Pacers have done a pretty good job of limiting his production, which is good. I would assume that David West is guarding him primarily, but I'm not sure about that.
I believe so.
They play the same.
Actually, Granger's the one.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what position Anderson is because he's like this big guy.
He's a 3-4 guy.
Yeah, he's like but yeah. My point is that the Pacers have done a good job after Game 1 of limiting the production of pretty much everybody except for Glenn Davis, which he is just like a man possessed right now. So I think if they can shut down everyone except for Davis for the rest of the series, they will be sitting pretty.
Pacers play next on Saturday night in Orlando. If they win the game, they go up 3-1 and head back to Indianapolis for hopefully what is the final game of the series. It's looking like they're probably going to play the Miami Heat. Let's take a look around the league at the other playoff teams. At this point, the Bulls and 76ers are tied. Let's take a stop right there. They're 1-1. Do you think the Bulls can win another game without Derrick Rose?
I think that they will win another game. I don't think the 76ers are going to sweep them from here on out. I don't know. I think the Bulls should win the series anyway because they didn't have Derrick Rose for an extended period of time during the season and were still the best team in the East. I think it's a little different dealing with an injury like that mid-series though, so it'll be interesting to see how they handle that from here on out. But I watched the 76ers game. I think they outscored them like 42-13 or something in the third quarter.
Yeah, Drew Holiday and Andre Iguodala came out of their
Drew Holiday
shell.
missed like one shot the entire game. It was ridiculous. It was pretty amazing to watch, actually. It'll be interesting to see if the Sixers will ride that because they're a talented team. They were like best team in the East early on the season, but still, I think that's going to be a good series from here on out.
Yeah, and up next, the Heat are up 2-0 on the New York Knicks. Last I checked, this is the game that's on tonight. And last I checked, they were tied at 19. I don't know what the score is.
40-36 Knicks at halftime.
40-36 New York at half. Do you think that they can? Okay, I know we could say for the argument's sake that the Bulls could still win the series again over a questionable 76ers team. But when you look at the Heat, do you think without Iman Shumpert, without Jeremy Lin, that the Knicks
without Amar'e Stoudamire,
do you think the Knicks can win a single game in this series?
I think that they could win tonight, honestly. That isn't necessarily, any team can win on any given night. I don't know.
Keep in mind, the Heat are playing, I think, without Chris Bosh tonight because he had...
I think he's playing tonight, actually.
Oh, is he? He had his kid
let me check.
Today.
He's playing, scored 8
Chris Bosh's wife had their kid. He did not give birth to a child.
To a velociraptor.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, I think that they could win a game. The Knicks are a weird team because they have like 5 guys in their team who could put up 40 on any given night, and they could also put up like 6 any given night. Like, J.R. Smith, Baron Davis, Carmelo Anthony, people like that. Steve Novak, too. I think that they could win a game, but that doesn't mean that they will. Jeremy Lin is like talking about him coming back pretty soon. Like they've mentioned he could.
He's not going to make it.
Well,
I think for the longevity of his NBA career, he should stay out of the series.
I think they should probably not.
They're a 7 seed.
They're probably not going to win even if he plays, so it'd be the right move to not have him play, but interesting to see if Eddie Curry plays.
Also, another further look around the league, Celtics-Hawks are tied at 1. Spurs are up 2-0 on the Utah Jazz. I don't think they'll have a problem
They
there.
destroyed them in game 2.
What is the story of the Thunder? Are they up 2-0 on
They're up 2-0, and
who are they playing again?
Mavericks.
The Mavericks. That's
they
right.
won game 1 on a last-second shot by Durant, and I think they won game 2 by like a point or something. That's been a really good series so far. I would not be surprised if the Mavericks came back and won it, though. That's not me predicting that they will, because I think the Thunder will win, but that's another team that could... The Mavericks are a team that can make some noise in the playoffs, too. If you're going to pick an upset, that would be the upset I would pick.
Grizzlies are giving the Hollywood's team a run for their money. They're tied 1-1 in the series, and the Lakers are up 2-0 on the Nuggets, but that series is heading back to Denver tomorrow night, and I believe with the altitude, the environment that they get in Denver, I think they can even up that series and make it 2-2 heading back to La La Land.
Game 1 of that series, did you watch it?
I did not watch it.
I was watching it, and I turned it off when the Grizzlies were up by like 29, and then I got on Twitter.
Clippers came back.
Clippers were down by 3. I was like, no. And I turned it on, they won. It was, like, I think it was the biggest comeback in playoff history.
It was one of them.
It was definitely one of them. I think it might have been...
The Jazz were down 36 points at halftime with Stockton and Malone. No, it wasn't with Stockton.
Well, yeah.
The Jazz were down... There was a game where the Jazz were down 36 points at halftime and they came back.
Yeah, I guess points-wise, not the biggest one, but they were down by 26 with 8 minutes to go or something. Maybe not as big a points comeback, but I think it's as big a comeback in, like, general terms. I mean, it was a ridiculous game to watch, though. But yeah, that'll be an interesting series because basically every team in the NBA could lose on any given night except for the Spurs.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be into the NBA playoffs this much. I've never been into the NBA playoffs this much before, but I've recently got really into the NBA, and I'm really excited about the possibility of the Pacers doing something. They could give the Heat an interesting series next time. I don't think they will win it. It's the Miami Heat. They're really, really good.
Yeah, they're really good.
But we're talking about a Pacers team that has done a little bit of everything this season, so you don't know what you could get from them heading into South Beach. I don't know. Possibilities are endless, and this is the NBA, quote, where amazing happens.
And not only could they make some noise this year, but this is a team that's built to last for a few years. I mean, take aside David West being 32 or whatever, but still. It's going to be interesting to see how they do.
He's 30-40. That's how old he is.
Yeah, he's like 90.
He's 70 years old.
He is going to be in a walker pretty soon.
Speaking of Pacers, a fan made a interesting video where he wants to redesign the jerseys, the whole scheme, the court of the Indiana Pacers. Josh, what did you think of this guy's idea? Do you like it?
I loved the combination of what he did was he took the ABA logo but combined it with the NBA logo so it didn't look as ridiculous as it did when the ABA was around. But it was like classic and modern at the same time. I really liked it. The only thing I didn't like was I was not a big fan of the back of the jerseys. I don't even know how to... It's like a stripe, but it goes horizontally across the back and then down the side vertically. And the name is on, like, within the stripe and the numbers underneath it. I wasn't a huge fan of that, but I like the stripe on the front that said Indiana was the same thing. I think that I might be in the minority there, but I think
white. It's white text with a yellow stripe running on the bottom of the text.
Like I think
classic Pacers.
I think that it could be altered to make it look a little cooler, but at the same time, as the whole, I really like the guy's idea, and he's apparently pitching it to the Pacers front office because Roy Hibbert tweeted about it.
Yep.
He said he really liked it.
He basically what else he did with the court, he simplified it a little bit more to embrace the tradition of Indiana high school basketball, traditional Indiana basketball. There's no color on the court. It's blue lines on the two-tone hardwood. The logo he designed is in the middle, and the paint, so to speak, is just two-tone hardwood with the dashed line. It looks like a high school court, and then on the side has the Indiana that he drew. It looks like a modern Indiana, the modern Indiana look right now, except the D...
Like the hole in the D is...
The hole in the D is
outline
the state of Indiana.
Which is cool, which I really liked.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I like the idea of it. Maybe it'll get passed. Maybe they'll just use it as an alternate.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe they'll make an alternate jersey out of it and just use that. Maybe they'll change the entire scheme. I don't know.
It depends on how good the guy's pitch is.
It's very impressive that this guy has put a lot of thought into it.
Yeah.
And I agree with his thought that this is a new Pacers team. They need a new look.
Yeah, they need to cast away the look of the 2004 Pacers. Scoff.
Stop talking about that. We are going to stop talking about that because we're going to talk a little bit about the NFL.
Woo!
The NFL draft was last Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I was excited as a Colts fan about all the picks that the Colts had. I was excited as an Alabama fan about a lot of other picks that happened.
And you were excited about both of them for one of the picks.
Yes, Alabama led the pool, I suppose, with 8 picks.
How many of those were in the first
round?
In
the NFL draft,
4?
4 of them were in the first round.
Kind of hard to keep them all straight.
Trent Richardson went 3rd. Mark Barron went late, top 10.
He was 8 or 9 something.
8 or 9. Kirkpatrick went in the teens to the Bengals.
I'm sorry about the...
No, I'm fine. That's where he belongs.
Yeah, he'll fit in good there.
Dante Hightower went to the Patriots in like 22nd or something, 23rd. I don't remember. Who else?
That's a great pickup for them.
Oh, a fantastic pickup.
Especially because their defense has been like pathetic the past couple of years.
He could be a team leader pretty quickly. And then those are the 4 guys that went, and Courtney Upshaw went pretty quickly in the 2nd round.
To the Ravens, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be Terrell Suggs is heir apparent right now.
Yes. And so I was excited about that for the Alabama players that I've watched play for so long. A couple other guys got picked up in undrafted free agency. 3 or 4 more went later rounds. So,
what did you think of the Colts picks, like the early ones?
Oh, the Colts. Well, I really like their draft. It's one of my favorite drafts that they've ever done. And that's saying something because Polian's picked up some gems in the past. But under new GM Ryan Grigson, take a look at some of the picks they had. First round, obviously, first overall pick with Andrew Luck, the quarterback. Quarterback out of Stanford. Obviously, Skip Bayless, the obvious choice as the best quarterback in the NFL draft. He legitimately thinks Robert Griffin III is the better franchise pick.
Troll is obvious.
But I think Andrew Luck is the best quarterback available. He's super mobile. I don't know if you've seen the guy run. A lot more mobile than I thought he was.
People describe him as a more athletic Peyton Manning, and that doesn't mean he's going to be Peyton Manning except twice as good. It just is like he reminded me of it.
John Elway.
Yeah, he's mobile. He's got a great arm. He has a great head on his shoulders. Robert Griffin III. Robert Griffin III could be a great player, but Luck is the pick you make if you have the first overall pick. Because if you take him and he fails, people are like, "Wow, everybody thought he was going to be great." If you don't take him and he succeeds, everyone's like, "Colts, come on." It'd be like if they took Ryan Leaf over Peyton Manning.
Right, exactly. Even though that was a closer...
Yeah, that was closer because they were both so good, but Peyton Manning's the guy who's like, he's most sure, he has the best chance of succeeding in the NFL, and it was the right move, obviously, for them. 2nd
round pick, my favorite pick by the Colts in the NFL draft, Kobe Fleener, the tight end out of Stanford. Best tight end available. Also, Andrew Luck's partner in crime for the last few years.
Definitely, yeah.
I'm very much in love with this pick. The NFL is becoming more of a tight end league. Look at the top few teams.
The Patriots went to the Super Bowl with Gronkowski.
Look at the top few teams in the NFL that played so well last year. You have the Patriots with Rob Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. You have the Green Bay Packers with Jermichael Finley. There are 49ers with Vernon Davis.
Saints with Jimmy Graham.
Those teams are thriving off tight ends, and that's what the Colts need. They have described Kobe Fleener as a faster, stronger, bigger version of Dallas Clark. Which is pretty good. And then they do it in the 3rd round, too. They pick up the 2nd best tight end, Dwayne Allen, out of Clemson. I was okay with this pick. I thought they were going to pick a defender in the 3rd round, but oh well. I'm fine with the pick here. 2 tight ends. I like the idea of the Colts going double tight in their offensive scheme because that's where the NFL is at right now, and that's what you do with a young quarterback. You give him a couple safety valves to throw off some passes if he's getting rushed, especially against these much faster defenders that he's going to be facing that he wasn't facing in the Pac-12.
And not only is tight end an important position for a young quarterback, but he also knows Coby Fleener's been playing with him for 3 years.
That's why I'm
at
such a
least.
huge fan
Exactly.
of it.
It's a great pick. It's an obvious pick, but it's such a great pick by them.
They were actually very lucky that Coby Fleener fell.
Yeah, because
them.
they were talking about the Rams. I want to say at a higher pick in the 2nd round, and they was like he might go to there, but he did not, which was good for them.
Later in the 3rd round was a questionable pick by many fans. I kind of like it still. T.Y. Hilton, the wide receiver out of Florida National. Here's what I'll tell you why I like the pick so much. They already have Reggie Wayne, possession guy, just a great receiver. He's going to be double covered till he retires. They picked up, who's another wide receiver they had? They still have Austin Collie, great possession wide receiver. I already talked about Reggie Wayne.
Did you?
Yeah, that was the first guy I talked about.
Yeah.
They have Austin Collie, great possession guy. I don't think they have
they have Anthony Gonzalez.
They still have Anthony Gonzalez? I don't know.
I don't know how good he'll be coming off an injury.
But they pick up this kid, T.Y. Hilton, absolute burner. Ran a 4.3640 at the combine. His record time is 4.24.
That's like Chris Johnson fast.
He's 5'10".
Speed demon.
He's speed demon.
He's like kind of like Mike Wallace.
He's a guy you can line up on the left
small.
side and throw deep, which is it's going to be great for a guy like Luck to have a quick look over there and see if he's got a...
And then if not, dump it to Fleener.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a great weapon to have, just a guy to sprint down the field every 3rd play. I'm excited about it. I think he'll make the starting roster, no problem. 5th pick. I know I said that Coby Fleener was my favorite pick by the Colts, but this is my favorite pick by just because I can get a new jersey now.
Yeah.
And that is Josh Chapman, the defensive tackle out of Alabama. For years, I have wanted the Colts to pick up an Alabama player, and it's finally happened with a new coach. 6'1", 316 pounds. He played in a 3-4 defense, and everyone knows the anchor of a 3-4 defense is your nose tackle. This guy plays nose tackle. I'm very excited. He's also very tough.
Absurdly tough.
Since October 11th till the national championship, he played with a torn ACL. I think
meniscus too, wasn't it?
Probably. I think so.
Yeah.
He played 8 to 9 games with torn ACL and meniscus. That's toughness. Imagine and he was still a big part of the team. Imagine what he's going to do when he's healthy. I'm excited. He's going to be the anchor of this new 3-4 defense that Chuck Pagano is instilling in Indianapolis. And also in the 5th round, Vic Ballard, running back out of Mississippi State. Pretty underrated guy. Didn't have a great season as far as touchdowns last year. He had 20 his junior year. His senior year, he only had 10, but he also ran an average 6.2 yards a carry. He's another guy like Delone Carter. He'll easily he can contend for the starting position during this season. So that's a great pick, especially when you're using a Bruce Arians style offense that relies on ground and pound from time to time. A couple later guys, Levon Brazil, wide receiver out of Ohio. You'll notice they've only addressed the defense once through the 6th round. Wide receiver out of Ohio. Slot guy, he'll have to fight to make the roster. Justin Anderson, offensive tackle out of Georgia. He's a big guy. Could move to guard, 6'5", 342. SEC guard. That's why I like him, essentially. Tim Fugger, the defensive end. I did say that correctly, by the way. Defensive end out of Vanderbilt. He's a guy that could come in. This is interesting. He's a guy that could come in and start defensive end, essentially. And this could help the transition of moving Dwight Freeney or Robert Mathis to the outside linebacker position. Kind of guy like, I don't know, does James Harrison blitz a lot?
He kind of alternates between blitzing and dropping back.
And that's the kind of backer I could expect to see out of a guy like Dwight Freeney later in his career. And also the 7th pick, my least favorite pick, because they did it.
7th round pick too.
But they did it completely wrong. Chandler Harnish, the quarterback out of Northern Illinois, not a very good pick in my opinion because they already picked up a backup quarterback. Drew Stanton out of Michigan State. I don't think Chandler Harnish is really going to be able to do anything, and he may not make the roster by August.
Yeah. The only problem I had with the Colts draft was I thought that they should have addressed defensive positions earlier in the draft. I like the pick, Josh Chapman, is that his name?
Yes.
I like that pick a lot because I think he's going to be a great guy for stopping the run and stuff because their run defense was awful last year. But I think I would have liked him to see. I would have liked to see them address because they lost so many guys in the defensive backfield. They lost Bethea, did they, or Bullitt? One of those two.
They lost Melvin Bullitt. They kept Antoine Bethea.
They lost multiple guys in the defense, and the defense wasn't that good to begin with. So I thought they should have addressed that more. But other than that, I liked the draft for them a lot as well.
Well, here's my thought on that. You can also address it in free agency.
That's a good point.
They have a lot more cap room than they ever have before because most of their starting players could be rookies. They don't have Peyton Manning, a guy that ate a big chunk out of your contract, and they have more room to play around, and they can pick up some guys in free agency, some available guys, even though those picks are going pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You look at their defense right now. They picked up Josh Chapman. They picked up Tim Fugger. 2 guys that could start. There should be a healthy Drake Nevis coming back. He was a pretty impactful tackle when he was playing. You have Freeney and Mathis still one of the best defensive end tandems in the NFL, and you have Pat Anger as
best defensive player in NFL history.
He was fantastic. He's great at still doing the pure wrap up and bring him down tackle like that. They need to address the defensive backfield though. Something they probably look forward to doing in the free agency or in next year's draft. Remember, this is a rebuild process. It's going to take a little bit of time.
Any Colts fan who expects them to just win 8 games next year, sorry, it's not going to happen unless a lot of things go their way.
Yeah. Not going to go too much into detail on the undrafted free agent situation. They did pick up 3 defensive backs, so there's a possibility of fixing that situation. They picked up a couple 3 linemen. They picked up a punter, a couple defensive linemen. Probably the most interesting pick in the undrafted free agency for the Colts was Griff Whalen, wide receiver out of Stanford. This was Andrew Luck's leading receiver last season, so I think it's going to be great. I think he'll make the starting lineup, or not the starting lineup, but he'll make the roster as another guy that Andrew Luck is very comfortable throwing to. He wasn't a receiver that was good.
Yeah, I was just about to say
Andrew Luck obviously made him look better, but that guy knows how Andrew Luck throws a lot better than other receivers who have never thrown with him. So that's just something to keep in mind. Josh, tell me how the Pittsburgh Steelers fared
against the Broncos.
Sorry, that was a slip. How they fared in the NFL draft.
Well, I found this to be a very good draft for the Steelers. I thought the positions I thought they needed to hit the most: defensive backfield, defensive line, offensive line. They hit the offensive line hard and heavy early on. I thought they got some really talented players at positions where they need immediate help, which is the offensive line, because they used 10 different offensive line combinations last year. 10 in 17 games.
That's
a lot.
That's dumb.
So there's so many injuries. There was, I think, against the Colts actually, they had 2 tight ends playing offensive line. That's how bad it was. Their first pick was a guy out of Stanford, David DeCastro, who has been described as by a lot of analysts as being a guy who's going to be a Pro Bowl offensive line for a long time. Like, he's going to be able to get put in immediately and immediately be successful. It's such a big need for them, and they got such a good talent. The next second-round pick for them was a tackle out of Ohio State named Mike Adams, who slipped a little bit. He was first-round talent, but he slipped a little bit because he tested positive for marijuana earlier. I don't know when exactly.
Content of character.
But then that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that he then lied to the teams at the combine about it, and then they found out. They all found out that he lied, so he slipped. And apparently, I think I heard this on draft day from Kuiper McShay or somebody. They said that Adams drove to the Steelers facilities and convinced them that he was worth picking. So, if you ask me, I'd say that he's put his troubles behind him, and I like that pick a lot because he's a good talent. The third round, they got an outside linebacker from Miami named Sean Spence. I don't know a whole lot about him, but from reading scouting reports, he's undersized, but he's really strong and really tough, which is basically a Steelers linebacker, kind of like Jack Lambert. Probably not going to be as good as Jack Lambert, but still.
You really?
Well, I mean, probably.
Those are some big shoes.
Let's hope. He's one of the best linebackers in NFL history, so I don't think he's going to be that good. Fourth round, they got a guy whose name I can't pronounce, Alameda Ta'amu. That's a terrible pronunciation, but it's pretty close. Defensive tackle from Washington. Very large man, 6'2", 345, and I think he was dealing with some injuries, which is partially why he slipped. But he's going to be a guy who he's going to be a defensive tackle for them for a while once Casey Hampton retires, which is probably going to be pretty soon because he's getting up there in age. He's pretty slow, but he's great against the run. I think he's going to be pretty good for the team in the long run. Fifth round was a Florida running back by the name of Chris Rainey, and I didn't know a whole lot about him, so I asked Nick about him because Nick's our resident SEC expert, and he just said he is the fastest guy.
He's so fast.
He's so fast. And I watched some video of him during the draft when they picked him. The guy is so fast. He's short. He's like 5'10", I think, but he's so quick. And I don't think he's going to be their running back because they have, he probably will play running back because Mendenhall tore his ACL last year. But he's a guy who can play a lot of positions, being running back, wide receiver, guy out of the backfield maybe punt returner. You never know. It's always good to have a really fast guy like that on your team.
Chris Rainey will automatically become your punt returner.
Yeah, he's just going to be a guy who plays a lot of positions because he's so fast. Then four other picks: Tony Clemens, a wide receiver out of Colorado; David Paulson, a tight end out of Oregon; Terrence Frederick, a cornerback out of Texas A&M; and Kelvin Beachum, a guard out of SMU, which I'm assuming is Southern Methodist or could be Southern Methodist.
It's Southern Methodist.
Yeah, pretty sure Southern Methodist, which means he's probably got a lot of money in college. But old joke there. I don't know a whole lot about those guys, but based on the positions they play, I like it. I like the positions that they dealt with. The only thing I have is that I wish they had dealt a little more with the defensive backfield, but with the quality that they got early on, I'm okay with them not addressing it because these guys are all going to probably play big factors. And also, I can't argue with any Steelers drafts because they're they're well known for having great drafts and building through the draft. So basically what they say, I just accept it as being good. So yeah, I give a good grade for the draft.
I would also like to point out that Josh Wachtel has unlocked our Robin Williams moment of the week when he executed his Southern Methodist joke. and I quote, he probably got paid a lot in college, but old joke there. In rapid succession, this Robin Williams moment of the week brought to you by Mrs. Doubtfire. Go see the movie.
I've never seen that
old.
Movie.
Robin Williams is a lady. Mrs. Doubtfire.
He's a nanny, isn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, man. I've seen like 3 Robin Williams
thank you,
movies,
Josh,
and one of them was Good Will Hunting, and one of them was Dead Poet Society, which aren't really funny movies. So, and Flubber.
So yeah, just letting you know that was the Robin Williams moment of the week.
Robin Williams. Academy Award winning actor.
It took us 12 weeks, but we got one.
Yeah, definitely.
And, let's move on to our trademark segment.
The thing that we have
Do you care?
Do you care?
First on the docket, found this out today. Clint Boyer is driving an Alabama-themed NASCAR at Talladega Motor Speedway this weekend. It's happened for the last 2 years. They did an Alabama car in 2010, I suppose. They did an Auburn-themed car in 2011, and they're doing an Alabama car once again in 2012. They showed a picture of Clint Boyer's helmet. He tweeted a picture of it, and it looks beautiful. It's got Bear Bryant on the back. It's crimson. It's a matte finish. I like it a lot. I haven't seen the car yet. I'm actually going to watch NASCAR to see the car. Josh, do you care?
I care literally zero. I do not even remote. I know that you do because you're Alabama.
I care enough.
I couldn't care. It's NASCAR in Alabama. I could not care less.
I care enough to tune in to watch
the car for like
the
5
car
seconds,
for 5 seconds.
and then boom, NASCAR.
Absolutely.
NASCAR is the thing I used to like so much when I was younger. In fact, I liked it so much that I memorized all the drivers. It's because
it's little kids in cars and bright
it's awesome.
colors.
It's loud and it's people crashing. It was so cool, and I just like. I don't even know what happened. I just stopped liking it because I didn't really like any of the drivers anymore. Man, I just don't even care a little bit about that. But it's cool for Alabama. I just don't care.
Yeah. Second on the docket happened yesterday. Jared Weaver throws a no-no against the
Twins.
Sorry about you, Twin Cities. Angels pitcher Jared Weaver throws a no-hitter. Correct me if I'm wrong. He had only one walk.
He had one walk, and there was a drop third strike error.
Okay. But he had 8 strikeouts.
8 or 9.
8 or 9 Ks.
I think it was 9.
Josh, do you care?
I do care. I thought it was cool. And there was a perfect game earlier this year, which I also cared about. The thing about no-hitters is that there's always this debate. Some people think no-hitter, that means he's a good pitcher. Jared Weaver is a good pitcher who threw a no-hitter. But at the same time, there's trolls on the internet who are like, oh, no-hitter, no one cares about no-hitters, no-hitters are stupid. I think it's a quirky thing. It's not necessarily a description of whether or not you're a good pitcher, because Dallas Braden threw a perfect game. Who? That's exactly my point. But I still think it's cool, especially when a great elite pitcher such as Jared Weaver does it. So yes, I do care.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of halfway between that ultimate troll side, and I mean, no hitters happen a lot.
They've started happening
a lot more than
they used to not happen a lot, but in the past 3 or 4 years they've picked up.
They started to happen a lot more. It's happening to obscure pitchers. It's happening because the other team just can't get the ball on the bat. So there's a lot of other reasons that these no hitters are happening. But I don't want to take away from this guy's moment. He threw a no hitter. Good for him. Good for Jared Weaver. And that's all that needs to be said.
That's exactly how I feel about it, by the way.
Speaking of exactly how you feel about things, Tommy Rees was jailed. I don't know. Remind me why he got arrested?
He got arrested on counts of public intoxication. He was drunk, and I think he kicked a cop. That's pretty much it. He is arrested for battery against a law enforcement, resisting arrest, and public intoxication, along with another guy, linebacker. I don't know what role he plays on the team.
If it's Monte Teo, then
it's not Monte Teo. I would have known that because he's actually good. But I don't know if you asked me if I cared or not.
Do you care, Josh?
I thought it was kind of funny and really stupid. But then I thought about it, and I don't think it's going to affect Notre Dame that much, because Gunnar Teal is probably going to start immediately, because Tommy Rees is not that good. So, I mean, they have like 4 quarterbacks who are all as good as each other. So in the grand scheme of things, not going to hurt Notre Dame that much. But I just think it's, like, that guy's, his career could be over because of that really dumb thing that he did. So, I don't really care, but I kind of do.
I have one basic comment on it. Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Yeah, that's pretty much how I feel. My dad tweeted something funny. Tommy Rees puts the fight in Fighting Irish, which I enjoyed a great deal. I thought it was very funny, and yeah, that's about it.
At Roger Martell. Amar'e Stoudamire, after I guess it was their second loss to the Knicks, got a little angry, punched the glass of a fire extinguisher, and suffered a laceration. essentially kept him out of this Game 3. Josh, do you care?
I care because it's the dumbest thing in the world. And I also care because the Pacers training staff put, athletic tape over the fire extinguisher and said, please do not punch, which I thought was also very funny. It's just what a okay, there have been examples of this in the past, though. One that comes to mind is an obscure one. Julian Tavares, a pitcher for the Cardinals, who is not in the Cardinals anymore, gave up a bunch of runs in the NLCS against the Astros one year. That's how long ago it was. He punched a phone over and over again and broke his hand. This has happened before. It's just I guess it's just an outburst of emotion.
It's a way to get attention.
It's just you're mad, so you punch stuff. I've done it before. I've done it playing video games before. When I get up and throw my shoes at the wall and stuff. So I understand it's a dumb thing to do, but at the same time, I kind of understand the emotion behind it.
Yeah, I have a lot of empathy for Amar'e Stoudamire because I was playing NCAA Football 12, lost a game as Ole Miss, and threw my controller, what I thought was going to be on the bed, actually landed on the ground, and I broke the left bumper button. That controller is officially out of commission.
That's a shame. My left bumper.
So I feel your pain, Amar'e Stoudamire. Final, do you care? And obviously you should, unless you decide that you want to be an ignorant, in a bubble American. Real Madrid wins their first Spanish title in, a few years. I think it's their 42nd Spanish title. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I don't know.
Do you care?
Yeah, I guess, because you are going to insult me if I don't.
Yes.
I'm getting more into soccer. I'm not really into Spanish soccer yet. Real Madrid has Ronaldo on it, right?
Big yawn. Big yawn for sleep.
Big yawn. It is unprofessional.
Big yawn for sleepy boy.
Cristiano Ronaldo plays
Yes.
for... Okay, then I don't like them because I don't like Ronaldo. If it was... Nick is doing an obscene gesture right now. I'm a bigger Lionel Messi fan, personally, because I think he's awesome. Don't you dare do that double at me. But anyway, yeah, I care, because I'm a hipster, and I just care about something. Newcastle till I die!
So basically, Josh just admitted that he likes Leo Messi, and
have you watched him
in my head?
He's a majestic human being.
Without liking him.
I don't know anything about him as a man. All I know is that Ronaldo has stupid hair, and I don't like him.
I don't like him because he plays for FC Barcelona.
Barcelona.
And I don't really care for FC Barcelona.
I don't know anything about him. All I know is that Messi is awesome, and he's really fun to watch, and that Ronaldo...
I am a bigger fan of the Castilian team, that is the Real Madrid.
But let's be honest here.
Real
Neither of them is even close to being as good as Newcastle. Maybe the best team in sports history.
You are a liar.
Best team in sports. Chelsea beat Real Madrid, didn't they? Transitive property. Newcastle beat Chelsea. Newcastle's the greatest team in the world.
I don't know if we've ever said this on the air, but literally, if you believe in the transitive property as it plays to sports, you literally know nothing about sports.
I zero think that.
Okay. Moving on. Great for Real Madrid. If I had to follow the BBVA, that'd be with the team that I would support.
I just hate Ronaldo so much.
I'm glad you.
Why don't you like Messi? Is it just because he plays for Barcelona?
Because he plays for Barcelona.
But why don't you like Barcelona?
Because I had a friend at Alabama that was a big Real Madrid fan, and he eventually convinced me to not like Barcelona. Also, I don't know. I just don't like.
I mean, you just don't like teams. Sometimes.
That's an all-star team. That's more of an all-star team than Madrid is. They're both.
Wait, which team does Cesc Fabregas play for?
I believe that's Barcelona, but
okay.
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know enough.
Fabregas might play for.
He plays for one of the two.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah, I don't know enough about European soccer.
I don't know enough about Spanish soccer.
I don't know enough about soccer in general, but I know even less about Spanish soccer than I do about English soccer. So I can't say I hate a team or I don't hate a team. But I've watched Messi play a few times, and he's really fun to watch. He controls the games. It's a lot of fun to watch.
And he doesn't flop. I will commend him.
He doesn't flop. And we watched video the last time our third and absent member of Hoosier Hipsteria was down here. We watched a video on Reddit of Messi just plowing through people and just destroying everyone and not flopping.
Well, it leads to him scoring more goals.
Exactly. I don't know if it's
Everyone should take a lesson from
Yeah,
him.
I don't know if flopping is...
It's to get the penalty.
I know it's to get the penalty, but I think Messi is so much better than those guys that I don't think they can do what he does. I don't think them flopping is just them flopping. I don't think they would be able to accomplish the things that he does by not flopping. If that makes any sense at all, which I think it does, because I'm the best soccer man in the world.
Yeah, and with that, we're going to end this, but not without mentioning something that happened. I guess it was yesterday afternoon. Longtime NFL All-Star, All-Pro linebacker Junior Seau passed away. This kind of has to. The reports came in today that they confirmed it was a suicide. This it's more or less a very tragic blow to the sporting world in general. This is one of those guys that never really had any blemish on his career, and he was just well known, well loved, well respected around the league.
This guy, yeah.
An interesting bit of trivia: Junior Seau marks the 8th player from the 1994 Chargers team to have passed away, which is a odd coincidence, but let's leave it at that.
Yeah.
It's just really sad. There's been a lot of anecdotes coming in about what Junior Seau has done to impact certain people's lives. Apparently, never let anyone down. I guess it's one of those case studies that could be made about guys adjusting into life after a pro career. Some guys never really fit back into life when they're not playing football on Sundays. So it's kind of a sad story. It's another milestone in discovering what the effects are of life after football and the game as it's going on. But I don't want to think of it as a case study. I just kind of want to close tonight by saying that our thoughts are with the Seau family, and I hope that I guess I really don't know how to end it, other than he will be missed, and he was a great part of growing up watching football.
He was a lot of fun to watch.
At a young age. He was fantastic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I guess for Josh Wachtel, I'm Nick Wright saying good night.